Good afternoon, lovers of Chatham. This is Rebecca from the Chatham Chamber of Commerce and the Merchants Association, and we are at the Chatham Railroad Museum. We're very excited for another ribbon cutting, so I'm going to flip this camera and take it over to Mary Kavanaugh, our Executive Director, and take it away.
Hello everyone, I'm Mary Kavanaugh, the Executive Director of the Chatham Chamber of Commerce and Merchants Association, and I'm here on behalf of the town because right now our town fathers are across the street at town meeting today, so they couldn't be here. So I'm going to read this official certificate from them. It reads, "The Town of Chatham Official Citation. Be it known that the Town of Chatham hereby extends its congratulations to Chatham Railroad Museum in honor of its ribbon cutting ceremony, and be it further known that the Town of Chatham extends best wishes on the rededication of the restored caboose. That this citation is duly signed by the Town of Chatham Town Manager and Select Board Chair on this 13th day of June in the year 2021, and it's signed Joe R. Goldsmith, Town Manager, and Shireen Davis, Chair, Select Board."
Yay!
There you go. Well, I'll hold on to that.
I'm going to give you these.
Fabulous.
There you go.
Here we go. Tighten angle.
Oh, okay. There we go. These are quite some scissors there.
Yay! Hooray! Congratulations!
Hey, those are dangerous.
Yeah.
I'll stick all with you.
Take it away. And, so, Mary, I would just like to say thank you so much for your support and for this great idea. Because who would have thought that 2 months ago that we would be here celebrating the caboose as well as being open. So I really got to thank you. I also want to extend thanks with our other co-director, Gil Spark. He couldn't be here today, but he sends his thanks as well. And I also would like to thank our volunteers, because when we decided we could open up, they came in, they cleaned up, and Terry Whalen and Tucker from the town came in, helped us clean up, and our volunteers signed up, and we are ready to be open for the season. Who would have thought? So, gotta thank everybody for that. And I would like to thank Jill, our town manager, and the select board for their incredible support in keeping and preserving this important part of Chatham history. We couldn't do it without them. The caboose has been redone, and the building is going to be repainted in the following weeks. So we are just absolutely thrilled for that support. I would also like to acknowledge our former co-directors, John Hulo and Don Aikman, for leading us for years of preservation and operation. We couldn't do it without you, so we've got some big shoes to fill, but Gil and I will do the best. We're thrilled you're going to be part of the working group and continue to volunteer. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Liz. Well, thank you for stepping forward. It settles on our place. You know, we're getting to be a little old and gray, you know? which is something that I haven't managed to escape yet. But for what it's worth, I don't crawl under my car anymore either. Well, let me tell you something about our caboose. In the beginning, there was no New York Central Railroad 18452 caboose here. Not when the Chatham Depot was built in 1887. Not when the last train left here on 2 July 1937. Not when all facilities of the Chatham Railroad Company were offered for public bidding in September of 1937. Not when Mrs. Phyllis Cox, a summer vacationer from Cleveland, Ohio, took a fashion to the abandoned Chatham Depot and bought it in 1950 with a small surrounding plot to donate to the town of Chatham. Not when the town of Chatham agreed to accept the gift at a 1951 town meeting, and not when the town decided to establish this Chatham Depot as the Railroad Museum in 1959. There was no New York Central 18452 caboose here, not even in July 1960 as the museum first opened, when a retired New York Central Railroad executive, Frank G. Love, as first director of the Chatham Railroad Museum, had assembled all the many artifacts he received from 62 railroad-affiliated corporations he had solicited. A marvelous achievement in itself. It happened during 1963 that Frank G. Love heard of the New York Central Railroad was disposing of all its wooden cabooses as part of a cost-cutting measure to remove excess crews from freight trains. Gone would be all the conductors, brakemen, and flagmen, and wooden cabooses as well, all replaced by FRED. FRED, an acronym for Flashing Rear End Device, was a technology development, an electronics box attached to the coupler of the last car of a freight train that provided a red tail light, monitored air brake pressure, and ultimately added an electronic GPS radio. Excess wooden cabooses were being scrapped in the rail yards, burned to remove their wooden structure, and the remaining metal sold for scrap. Frank G. Love saw this as an opportunity to get a caboose for the museum. Well, it was a vaguely detailed story about how Frank did this with a placed phone call and his visit to the yardmaster at the New York Central Yard at Selkirk, New York, about 8 miles south of Albany. There was some dickering, and Frank convinced the yardmaster to donate the caboose, as well as help rig the caboose for over-the-road transport by tractor-trailer. Then Frank did some more dickering with Jeremiah J. Darcy of the Darcy Brothers Dairies, using their tractor-trailers to transport the caboose from Selkirk, New York to Chatham. Caboose body towed behind one tractor, and the rail wheels loaded aboard another tractor trailer. When the loaded caravan departed from Selkirk in August of 1963, it was a slow trip to Chatham. It arrived a day and a half later in the morning at the museum, where several lengths of track roadbed were already placed behind the depot where the original track bed had been. Now, the third part of Frank's plan was ready, as in waiting were a rigging crane from Fred Crowell Construction of Harwich, and a work party to accomplish the task of setting the caboose back on its road wheels under the caboose. It was a real scene, and we are fortunate enough to have a detailed series of photos taken of the event to memorialize it. However, bringing the caboose to Chatham was not the end of the story, as this caboose was in a sorry state of repair. Wood had deteriorated from its 50-plus years of outdoor exposure, and it took the efforts of Chatham Railroad Museum volunteers, Chatham JC volunteers, and other community volunteers over a 20-plus year period that finally concluded with the reconstruction of an area of the aft roof and replacement of all the siding and windows. And its painting in the original red paint scheme, including the proud New York Central Railroad symbol and its corresponding 18452 caboose number, done by a local artist. Our caboose has a proud heritage of having traveled over 1 million miles of track during its active use with the New York Central Railroad, surviving the perils of rail use since it was first delivered to the New York Central Railroad in 1910 from the construction shops in Oswego, New York. To date, it is one of the most popular attractions of our museum, having been visited by over 300,000 visitors since its installation in August 1963. We have a debt of gratitude for Frank Love's vision and to the town for the needed restoration accomplished this past spring that we celebrate here today, returning our caboose to its original splendor. It Its interior has a workman's patina from years of railroad use that our visitors have come to enjoy. To add to the atmosphere, the sound system plays a background of steam locomotives that return memories of a past era that will never be heard again. And for the edification of our visitors, a short video plays at the rear of the caboose explaining caboose history and features. And now, you know the story of our wooden caboose.
Thank you, John.